Hi everybody, my name is Kim and I am the admin of the Facebook group Embroidered Greeting Cards for show, sale, or inspiration. And I had promised to do some tutorials for that group and have decided to put it on my YouTube channel because I cannot find a lot of videos for embroidered greeting cards, not the way that I will be doing them. So I'm doing a tutorial and I'm going to do a series of them, which will be from very, very basic to very, very expert, and teach you the techniques, the different techniques that you can use to make your cards, the materials and supplies that I use to make my cards. I also have put a file in the Facebook group with all the supplies that I use and the links where you can purchase them. And you can certainly use that, or you can search on your own for your supplies, which is fine. But those are just the supplies that I use because they work for me. So today we're going to start with a basic card, and I'm also going to show you how to make an envelope. So this is the card that we'll be doing today. This one is not finished because I have not finished this one yet, but I'm going to do a finished card today with you guys. So this is a design that I got from Designs by Juju, and this is available on her website. So this is just a very basic card that you can stitch right on to watercolor paper, which is what I use. So we'll be making this today, and I'll show you exactly how I make my card. The watercolor card is cut 5 by 7, and my finished card comes to 5.5 by 7.5, and I'll show you how we get that. I'll also be showing you how to make an envelope with an envelope punch board, which is really, really simple. It takes less than a minute to make the envelope. So we'll be doing that today. That's what'll be in this video. So for my watercolor paper, I use a 11 by 15 pad that I get at Walmart. It is Grumbacher. It's 140-pound weight, which is, I found the best watercolor paper to work for me. I've tried less weight. I really didn't like it too well, so I found the heavier weight to work best for what I do. There's 30 sheets in here. I get it at Walmart in the United States for less than $11 a pad. So from one sheet of paper, I can get 3 5 by 7s. So from a 30 page pad of paper, I can get 90 cards, which is great. If any of you sell your cards like I do, and depending on how much you sell them, I make my money back off this pad just selling one card. And like I said, you can get 90 out of this pad. And the link, I think I have the link to this in that list. I think I do. But if not, like I said, it's in Walmart. It's in their art section with all the paints and everything in it. They have different sizes, but this is the size I choose to get because I can get so much more out of this. So that is for the watercolor paper. For the black mat, I just use a regular 8.5 by 11 regular cardstock. I cut it down. My mats are 5 1/4 by 7 1/4. And once I cut that down, it's a little bigger than the watercolor paper, so you can see how that mats. On the finished card today, we'll also be doing the rest of the card since I haven't finished this one yet. And for the back, I just use also regular cardstock, or depending on what my customer wants, because I do a lot of glitter for some reason. A lot of my customers like the back part with glitter paper, so that's what I use. And for the envelope, I just use regular scrapbook paper, thin scrapbook paper, like a regular envelope would feel like. And when you put it in the envelope, it's a perfect fit. So I'll teach you how to do that. What I use to cut my paper, I use a We Are Memory Keepers trim and scoreboard. I love it. It folds. It doesn't take up a lot of room. You can open it. It opens to, what is it, 12.5 by 12.5, I believe. So here you have the trimmer. And then to score it, you would take this tool out here and then just flip it around. Oops, sorry. Then just flip it around. And there's a lip on here. So when you put this in here, it stops your paper from moving any further. So you can score it right where you need to. And you have measurements down here. I believe these are centimeters. And then you have inches down here. So that's what I use to score my paper when I need to and cut my paper down. And then I just flip this back over and then just close that, and it just closes and folds. And to make my envelopes, I use a We Are Memory Keepers envelope punch board. I love this. I used to do envelopes with templates and having to put them all together and cut them a certain way. With this, you do not need to do that. I absolutely love this. Both the scoreboard and the trimmer and this board come with a little tool so you can score. This one only has one score line. So I will show you how to use this. What I like about it, and let me see if you can see, it has envelope sizes. So depending on what size card you're making, there's card sizes here. Whatever card size you're making will determine what size paper you need to make your envelope, and then what score line to score it on. And I will show you how to do that. It's really, really simple. So those are the supplies that I mainly use to make my cards. Putting them together, I will show you what I use. I use a double-sided tape. I use a tape runner. Really, really simple things. So right now I'm going to cut my watercolor paper so I can have a 5x7 because I did not cut it previously. I thought I did. So what I do is I just put this in here. Well, this is where the pad, where you take it off the pad, so I don't use that part. I cut it off. So I just go here and I cut at 7. And I make sure, now for some reason, not every paper is true to their size. So what I do to make sure that it is correct, because this one, like, sometimes you got to move it a little bit just to get it right. So I make sure that this is right on the line. And I need it on 7. So, and then I'll just trim it. And then I'll do the... Oh, I just dropped something. And then I'll do it again at 7. Since I'm cutting it, I'm just going to cut my paper so I have... Get it on that line. It's always the bottom I have to move down a little bit. So this is good. Cut this off. And now I'm going to do it at 5. So I'm going to do 5x7. Good. And then I'll do, I'm sorry, I meant I get 4 cards off one sheet. Yeah, I get 4 cards. So, we'll do 5. So you're actually getting a lot more cutting like this. So here I have 2 5x7s from there. And then I'll just do this one. So I'll have my spares when I need them. I forgot what I did. That is 7, so I'm doing it 5. Sorry. Okay, do 5. And then another 5. So you get 4 cards off one sheet. It's great. very, very cost effective. So some people ask me, how can you make money with all the work that you put into the card? And believe it or not, if you break down what it really costs, it doesn't cost all that much. So like this pad of paper costs less than $11 for 30 sheets. So I get 4 cards off one sheet. That's 100, 40. That's a lot of cards. That's 120 cards per pad. That's very, if you break that down, what you paid for that pad, and then divide it by how many you can get from that pad, it's pennies. So that's very cost effective. So we got our 5x7. So what I'm going to do, I thought I brought my painter's tape over here. I did not. Let me grab that right quick. So what I'll do now is just take my 5x7, and I put it with the watercolor paper. You can see the design on it. That's where the fibers connect. I put that side up. So what I'm going to do is just put it inside the placement line, and I put little pieces of painter's tape on the ends, just really small pieces, just to hold it in. I mean, just to hold it down. So I got that little one there. That, and then that. So that is in the placement line. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stitch this out, and then I'll start my video again so we can finish the process and I can show you everything. Okay, so we have finished our card on here. So let me see if it does what I told you it was going to do with the painter's tape. Nope. One moment. My dogs were about to start barking, so I didn't want that open. Okay, so I don't know if you can see this way. See that little white spot on there? That's because the paper tore, but like I said, you can just take your finger and rub on it and it's gone. You can't even tell. So what I do now, since this is a very basic card, I use tearaway, so the tearaway just come off. You don't have to worry about getting it all out because it's going to be covered anyway. So, but it's up to you what you want to do. You just take this out. I just try to make sure I get it as close, far away from the edge as possible, because you don't want any sticking out from the back of it. Okay, I'm fine with that. I don't care if I leave a little bit on the back. There. So, see? Could leave that on there. That's fine. So now what I'll do is I use this. It's called score tape. It's double-sided tape. It's a 1/4 inch wide. So what you do with this, I get this on Amazon. That is also on my supply list. So I just go around all 4 sides, and I do it a little close to the edge, and then I press down on it really good. This is really, really good, and it sticks really well. So we'll do that. And then the last side. Okay, so I just go around just one more time, make sure it's stuck good, because sometimes you'll put it over the stitching and it's not a big deal because it's going to happen. So I just make sure I press down on it really good. And then you have your black mat, if you're going to use it. I said earlier, it's 5 1/4 by 7 1/4. So what you'll do is take the backing off. Even with my nails, sometimes I can't get it. All right. You can use probably a little pick tool if you have one. Okay, so sometimes, and I did it here, and I don't know if you can tell, but you see there's a tiny, tiny bit of that, that double-sided tape. All you have to do is just fold it over, and it's fine. So what I do, and I'm going to have to stand up to do this, I line it up on my cutting mat so I know it's straight. And then I bend it up a little bit so I don't have the double-sided tape touching it. And I try to line it up as even as possible until I think I'm okay. I think this might be good. And then I'll just put my fingers in the middle to hold it. Yeah, this is fine. And you just go around. And now you have it matted. So now I turn it around and I do again the double-sided tape. And I do the same thing on this side. And I go around all 4 again. It tears really easy, this double-sided tape. I just use my scissor. It's a little easier for me to tear it. Sometimes I have really bad carpal tunnel syndrome, so I lose feeling in my hand sometimes. So it's just easier for me to do it like this. Although you couldn't tell that I lose feeling in my hand, but I do. Just a lot easier for me. All right, so one more time, I go around, make sure it's on good, and then oh yeah, so before I take this off, I'm gonna go ahead and cut my back paper. So I think I have 2 here, yeah. So what you want to do now is cut, if you're going to use another backing, another card, and I'm going to do this one folded. I do usually folded and postcard type, and if I was doing postcard type, I would just take, cut this at 7 1/2 by 5 1/2, and then just attach it to the back so it kind of looked like this. And usually, the ones that I do this for are the ones who want me to ship it to whoever they're sending it to directly, because they don't have to write anything on the back. So, I usually do either postcard or a folded card. So the folded card, since the finished card size is going to be 7 1/2 by 5 1/2, you want to cut your paper at 11 length, because we're going to score it at 5 1/2. So we're going to do this at 11. Looks good to me. And then 7 1/2. And I did forget to tell you the reason why I stopped the video when it was stitching, because myself, as somebody who watches a lot of YouTube videos, I don't like watching long videos. And if I kept everything going while I stitched out on one of my machines, you'd be sitting here forever watching a very long video. So there's really no need to see the stitching. Obviously, if you're making an embroidered card, you have an embroidery machine and you know how it stitches. So this is what makes my videos a lot shorter, because I don't show the stitching. So this is a textured cardstock. So I make sure that this is going to be the up and back side of what's going to be folded. So on here now, what I do, you got your little tool here, and I'll take this out and turn it around with the lip side facing this way. So now when I put the card on here, and I'm going to turn the textured side down, it automatically, the paper has nowhere to move. So I'm at 11 length where I cut it. Now I just want to score it at 5.5. So I'll look at the board, you know, you find 5.5, and then you just score it. And I put a little pressure on it so it's really good and scored. And now you see the scoring. That's it. You're done with that. So now I can fold this back up. Put my tool back in there so I don't lose it. Put it. Okay. So now you're going to take your card, fold it on the score line. I usually still line up my corners to make sure that they are even with, and it's scored perfect. So I had no issue. So now what I'll do, take the tape cover, I call it a tape cover, off here, the paper. And then after this, I'll show you how to do the envelope. See how easy it is with the punch board. Okay, so I do the same thing. I line this up with any spot on my cutting mat, just so I know it's straight, because I have a habit of moving things sometimes. So now I'll do the same thing as I did before, but I usually try to hold this down some, because this part I always have a little issue with sometimes. Okay, so looks good enough to me. And I just go back around, make sure it's good and done. And now your card is complete. So you have your watercolor paper, you have your black mat, and then you have your folded card. Can't see any stitching on the inside or anything like that. And for the back, I use just a regular cardstock. It's perfect. So here is your card. So now we will do the envelope. So like I said, the finished card is a 7.5 by a 7.5. I mean, sorry, 5.5 by 7.5. And I already know from looking at the punch board, I have to cut my envelope paper, whatever I'm going to use, at 10.5 by 10.5, because that's what the punch board tells me to for that size card. So I'm going to just take a regular scrapbook paper, and I always try to coordinate my envelopes with my cards. So since that's a Valentine's Day card, I got some Valentine's Day paper. So I'm going to cut it at 10.5 by 10.5. Here's another one that's not perfectly square. Okay. So cut that. And I have tons and tons of strips. hundreds probably, or thousands. I haven't figured out what to do with them. I'm going to probably look on Pinterest to see what to do with them. Make sure that didn't look right. It's fine. So you cut it the other side at the same 10.5 by 10.5. Okay. Cut. You don't need this anymore. So now you take your punch board. So now what you'll do is you'll look at your sizes. So for the 5.5 by 7.5 card, it tells you to cut the paper at 10.5 by 10.5 and score it at 4.5. But you're only going to score it one time at 4.5. And I'll show you why. Because there is, so I line it up with the 4.5. And it has a punch button here. So you're going to punch down on it. Try to get more in the other camera. So you're going to punch down on it. And then you're going to take your tool and you're going to stick it in the little hole here. And then you can feel the score line. And you just score it. So some of your paper will be hanging off, which is fine. But you see, maybe you can see it better. Yeah. So you see the score here. So now what you'll do, you're not going to line it up at 4.5 again. There is right here, it's a score guide. It's a little tip right here. You're going to line that up with the score line that you just made. And then you punch and score again. And you do that all the way for the rest of the paper. So we're going to line that score guide up with the score line that I just made. I'm going to punch it again and then do another score. And you do the same thing all the way around, line it up with the score guide, punch it, score it, and your last one. Punch and score. Okay, so the way to know that you did it correctly, we're not done with that. I'm going to show you another feature on that, which is pretty cool. So the way you know you did it correctly is because, I'll show you this one here. You see how the two lines meet? That's how you know you did it correctly. So the shorter line, the shorter sides, you're going to fold on the inside. But before I do that, on the back of the envelope punch board, there's another punch. And what this does, it rounds off your corners. So I usually just round off the two bigger sides because that's what's going to be seen. So all you have to do is take the corner of this and just stick it in here all the way in and then punch. And you see it rounded it, which is neat. I like that. So I only do the bigger sides because that's what's going to show. The smaller sides aren't. And that's it. We're done with that punch board. Now, all you have to do is just glue this. So you take the two smaller sides and fold it in on the score line that you just made. And then I use Elmer's, just a regular Elmer's tape runner, double-sided, and I run it along here and here, whichever side you're going to do. I usually try to keep my envelopes right side up. So this is right side up, so I'm just going to lay this here, and then I'm just going to do these two right here. So I'll just take the tape runner. And I always just lift it up because I always get tape on the end, which will be inside the envelope. And you don't want to do that because if the card goes in the envelope, you don't want it to get stuck. So I just fold it in. It's really, really thin, so it's very easy to do that. And then you take your end, whichever end you're going to use, and then you're going to fold that on the score line. And then just press it down so it attaches. And then fold the top down. And that's it. Your envelope is done. So easy to do it with that scoreboard. I absolutely love it. So now your card is perfect fit for the envelope with a tiny bit of room to spare. And that's it. Your card is complete for you to mail if you're mailing it to somebody, or because I sell mine since I sell my cards, I buy let me show you these CeeLo bags. They're 6 by 9, perfect fit for the card. So when I'm sending it to the person that actually purchased it, for them to send it to whoever, I just put it in like that with the card on top of the envelope. And I put it in here. I usually put the card facing in the front and the opening to the bag in the back. And I just do that, make sure it's down. Take that and just fold that down. And there you go. That's how I ship my cards out, and that's how I sell them. So also these are on that supply list that I put in the group. So that's it. That is the whole process on making just this simple card. So if you have any questions or anything like that, or something that I maybe said wrong, or you misunderstood, or you're just not sure about, just shoot me a message, comment on the video, subscribe. I'm going to be doing more videos on more techniques. If you're not already in my Facebook group, please visit Embroidered Greeting Card for Sale, Show and Inspiration on Facebook. Just join us. We got a little over 400 people in the group now. It's getting built up pretty fast. I haven't had the group that long, but I've been advertising it and trying to get more people that are interested in embroidered cards to join, because I love doing these and I love sharing them. So hit that subscribe button so you can get updates, and you want to hit that little bell so you can get updates on my all of my videos when I post them. Okay, so I will see you next time. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you soon. Bye.